Welcome back to Open Line. We are talking about domestic and sexual violence today. It's a very important topic, and Tennessee has a long way to go to get rid of all of it. I think that's the hope that everyone can have. Our phone lines are lit up, and I think that just shows that a lot of people have questions and a lot of people have experience with domestic violence within their own relationships. I have Robin Kimbrough, the legal counsel for the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence, with me. Go ahead and give us a call if you have a question that you would like to ask and maybe get some advice. I want to know what Tennessee is doing. What kind of laws do we have to help victims and to hold perpetrators accountable too?
Great. I do a legal advocacy training every year, and I teach on these laws. And one important law I want to share is embodied in what is called the Order Protection Act. And what the Order Protection Act provides that if certain acts of domestic violence, as seen in this power and control wheel, give rise to start to escalate, which domestic violence does, then Tennessee allows legal interventions, and one of those is the order protection. So if there is abuse, and abuse is a technical term, so it means injury or threats to injure to the person, to the pets, or to the property, then you are eligible to get an order of protection if the person who did these things to you, if you're in a domestic relationship with that person. And what that means is you're related by blood or marriage, you've dated or have had sex, and blood or marriage also means in-laws. You've lived together, that includes roommates, or if you're a child from any of those relationships that I just described. So you can get an order of protection based upon being a domestic abuse victim.
And how do I do that? When I say, this is what I want, what's my next step?
Before I get to that, let me add too that if you are a victim of sexual assault or stalking, even if there is no relationship existing between the two, you can also be eligible for an order of protection. And different counties do different things with obtaining the order of protection. Most counties, you have to go to the clerk's office to obtain the order of protection. In Davidson County, this county is very fortunate because you can obtain an order of protection 24 hours in Davidson County.
Where do I do that?
You can go down to Night Court, which is the Criminal Justice Center on James Robinson Parkway across from the A. Birch building. You can go there 24 hours and get an order of protection, and there's a magistrate down there who will determine whether you the violence will allow you to be granted what is called an ex parte order of protection, and that's the first order. And this is very important to understand that the ex parte order is granted if you're in immediate danger or harm. So you have that first piece of paper, and it becomes enforceable when the other party has been served with it or has personal knowledge of it. So if the person knows about it, they should not come around you for any reason per the statute. And then there is another hearing for the judge to decide whether there's enough evidence to extend your order of protection or actually to grant you a final order. And if the judge decides to grant you a final order, there are all sorts of things in that order of protection that will allow a victim to start their journey to safety.
And what kind of timeline are we talking about from the time you get the first order to you go before a judge?
That's a great question, and Davidson County is really good about turning that around. So it should be within 10 to 15 days of the service of that order of protection. So, and their court date is given at the time of the issuance of that ex parte order, which allows the Sheriff's Department time to serve it. It is so important that the victim keeps that ex parte order of protection on her at all times, and makes several copies, one for the car, one for the home, one for work. So that's part of their safety planning. So once that final order of protection is extended, so I go to the hearing, and Davidson County has a domestic violence court. So there are 3 judges who hear orders of protection here in Davidson County, and that's Judge Angelita Dalton, Judge Allegra Walker, and Judge Gail Robinson. So you're going to be going before one of those judges to hear this particular order of protection or a domestic assault if there's a criminal act of abuse. And so that order of protection will allow the person to have possession of the home. It will allow the person to break their lease. They would still be responsible for it, but it would create a third-party claim against the respondent. Child support, spousal support, and any other type of relief the judge deems necessary to keep the victim safe. So the order of protection is not just a piece of paper.
No.
It is an instrument that increases the odds of this victim from leaving a very violent situation.
To getting out, to staying out, and staying safe during that time.
Staying safe during that time. The batterer, if the respondent breaks the order of protection, breaches it, comes around the victim, even if the victim invites the perpetrator back.
Yeah.
That person's in violation of that order of protection and will be subject to an immediate arrest. It's a violation of the order of protection.
And if the judge grants it, that person cannot have a gun, right?
That's exactly right. They cannot possess a firearm. I can talk about firearms too all night. Cannot possess a firearm during the duration of the order of protection. An order of protection may last up to 1 year. And the petitioner, the petitioner can have it extended. The petitioner, if the petitioner believes they need another year, they can ask the judge to extend it another year. The judge can also extend it without the petitioner if the respondent violates the order of protection and is convicted. It can be extended for 5 or 10 years.
Wow.
So there are some penalties built into the order of protection. Although it may start off as a civil action, it can turn criminal if the respondent violates the order of protection. It's an immediate arrest, and the 12-hour hold applies.
Yeah, such an important step in this process of leaving that abusive relationship is understanding that process of getting the EPO.
Absolutely. And I want to add that the Gene Crow Advocacy Center is available for victims to help them to obtain orders of protection. Also, the Domestic Violence Unit is available to help victims to obtain orders of protection via video. So they can really work with the victim at the Domestic Violence Unit and do it by video streaming down to night court, so the victim doesn't have to travel down there. And I have to brag about their services. They have some super detectives down there who help with criminal acts of domestic violence, and some super counselors down there who provide free counseling to children and victims of domestic violence.
This is at the police department?
This is at the Domestic Violence Unit, which is located on the corner of, I know some folks are watching saying, Robin, you know that address. It's located on 3rd and Leashy Avenue, around that area. And they can walk in, they can open up at 8 and they stay open at 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And they always have a detective on call and a social worker or counselor on call.
Very good information. Let's talk to Cynthia. Cynthia, I understand that you have a story to share with us. Can you go ahead?
Yes, I have a story to share that is very unusual and a story that's really a monster story. I can't see my children. Yes, I can't see my children for 10 years now because my ex-husband, who beat me severely and threatened to get the children away from me, which he did through money. He went to court and he sued for custody, and he got custody after the 3rd time. He said I would never see my children again, and I haven't, because he coached my oldest son, David Traynor, to say that I abused him and that he never wants to see me. And I had Judge Mark Fishburne, and Mark Fishburne said, okay, the restraining order is granted. And my restraining order was granted. And so I didn't see my son for a year. And then he said that I sent him dangerous packages, and the dangerous packages were a birthday card and a birthday card and another card for Father's Day. And he went to the night court and he asked for another restraining order against me, his mother, and so I went to jail because I violated that restraining order. They were not dangerous packages, they were just cards from Hallmark, from Walgreens department store. Now I'm not the only one, but it's a rare situation when you can brainwash the children into being afraid to get in touch with their mother. But I have not seen them for 10 years. I was their mother. I was their primary caretaker. I have a master's degree myself in social work, so I know what's going on. But I seem to be powerless to get my children back to see me. And as every mother knows, you want to see your children as often as you can. And your children should not be trained to say, yes, she needs a restraining order against her because she's stalking me, when she's not doing that. Yes, she needs a restraining order because I sent her a birthday card. Yes, she needs a restraining order because I delivered a Christmas gift to his door with someone from church went with me as a witness. So I'd like to know, I think that this lady, Miss Kimbrough, is very smart, and I'd like to know what she thinks about this.
Well, let's
that
ask.
Children can be kept away from their mothers, and that's domestic violence also. And he was a person who beat me on a regular basis. I even had it. Okay, I know you need time to respond.
Yes, thank you, Cynthia, for calling. What are your thoughts here? Because unfortunately, this type of situation can come down to a he said, she said. Somebody has to figure it out. What do you do?
It is a very hard case. One thing that this caller really brings to the forefront is that batterers will use the children to take control over their victim. And this is so important. I have victims who call me all the time who are about to just leave with their children because it's so dangerous. And although I can't tell them to not leave with their children, one thing I always say to them is this: remember, if you choose to leave with your children, and especially if you're married to the person, you may risk the batterer filing an emergency custody order against you and forcing you to come back to the state with your children, and could possibly lose your children, because judges sometimes struggle with connecting the abuse against the mother with the impact that it's having on the children. So they run into situations just as this woman has, losing custody of their children. I'm not sure the full gambit of her situation, but she does bring to the attention that children are used in situations to control the victim. If you leave me, I'm going to take the children from you because I've got to punish you for leaving me. I've got to punish you for trying to escape the control that I have over you. And that is on the power of control wheel, using visitation to harass the victim, threatening to take the children away. And of course, because of the economic abuse, the mother is struggling to hire attorneys to litigate these very complicated matters. So you're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars to litigate this matter and to go through the appeals process. So these are issues that I hear on a daily basis, women fighting to keep their children, fighting to keep their children safe. And some are able to do that. And unfortunately, some stay in very lethal relationships because they do not want their children killed, and they want to be there to protect their children, and they do not want to lose custody of their children. So we have to be very careful when we say to a victim, why don't you leave? Why did you drop the order of protection? Why did you not show up for court for the domestic assault? Well, it's because the batterers probably have threatened the children. And just like this mother has just explained, mothers will sacrifice for their children.
And I think any mother can understand that. Anyone can understand that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back with more Open Line. Stay with us.